So hopefully at this point you have already gone through the document. If not, the document is shared in the link section of the video. So we have been trying to understand site-to-site VPN in the context of implementing it in Amazon Web Services and specifically in the context of advanced networking exam. So there are like two wide varieties of VPN implementations. One is site-to-site and the other is like client-to-client. So we are doing the site-to-site implementation of it, and this is some of the notes. Now coming to the lab section, so this video basically covers the lab aspect or practical implementation on how you can actually deploy it on an AWS console. So we are dividing this into three parts. Part one is where you build the data center or the on-prem side of things. So we can leverage the existing AWS account. You can also like sign up with any of the free cloud providers and spin up a Linux server. As long as the server has internet connectivity. For example, you can pick Linode, you can pick Azure, you can pick any other services, for example GCP, and build your own server. So basically it boils down to like having a VPN server. We don't technically need a VPN client, but we'll still do it because real world implementations is like there is a VPN server where your termination would end, the IPSEC tunnel, and then there is a LAN traffic which like comes onto the server, and the server takes care of like encrypting the traffic towards the AWS. So that's why we need like both client and VPN server. In our case, what we'll do is like we have chosen AWS Frankfurt as the on-prem server side, and we'll like start deploying two Ubuntu based Linux servers. On one of it we'll install Strong-swan, which is the open source software which we'll use for IPSEC implementation. We on the way, like we need, since it's a new VPC, it needs internet gateway. So we'll configure an internet gateway and provide internet access to VPN client and VPN server, and that's about part one. So if you are like comfortable in spinning up the servers and connecting the IGW, you can fairly skip this lab and proceed to part two, where we'll configure most of AWS side of things, and part 3 is the one where we actually start editing the routing tables, and we'll try to wrap up the course. So let's head to the AWS console. I am in the Frankfurt region here. So what I would do is like I'll go to my VPCs. So first things first, as per the topology here, right? So my intention is to like create a 192.168.0.0.16. That's my VPC. It's always good that if you like sketch it down, even the basics of things, because it gives a sort of calmness and also a confidence booster. So let's say VPN VPC, let's name it, and we need to use the CIDR. So we'll say 192.168.0.0.16 is my CIDR block, and everything else is at its default. So that creates the VPC aspect of it, right? So that's done. Now let's go to the subnets, and we'll create one subnet for now. That should be more than enough. So we'll select the VPC. So VPN VPC, and the name would be subnet 192.168.10/24 if it allows, or let's say 24. I have no preference for it, and my CIDR block is 192.168.10/24. That's the CIDR block. So let's try to create the subnet. So subnet is created as well. Now let's go to VPC. So we are already in the VPC and create internet gateway. So every VPC has its own internet gateway. So imagine VPC as a virtual data center in itself. So that's the reason why like one VPC can attach only to one internet gateway, or the other way around, one internet gateway attaches to one VPC. So I'll say VPN VPC internet gateway. So we'll create it, and in the actions we need to attach it. So we'll select the available is VPN VPC and we attach it. So these are like some of the logical pre-constructs. You don't need to have an EC2 instance already, right? So for any PC, when it comes up, what are the few things that it needs? Probably a DHCP server. So DHCP server is already based on the VPC subnet configuration, right? Now, as soon as like we say that, okay, this particular EC2 instance come up with this particular subnet in this particular VPC, the DHCP would take care of things. The next logical step is like having an internet access to it. Now, one thing which you should probably remember is like creating IGW in itself will not give you the access to the internet. You have to like edit the routing table. So let's go ahead and do it. So this is the subnet. Have edit routes, and we'll add the route of all zeros and through my internet gateway, VPC internet gateway, and save changes. So that's one thing. And let's go to the subnets, and we can see that now we already have the table pointing out to the internet gateway, and edit subnet association, and we can see that it is associated as well. So that's taken care of. So we have like the infrastructure ready. Now let's go to EC2 and let's try to spin couple of Ubuntu based servers. You can like go with pretty much the lowest version and it would still work. So I don't have any servers running, so let's go there. So I need the number of instances to be 2, and I need an Ubuntu based server. I would probably choose, let's say, for the demo purposes, I'll just go with the medium because I have other plans to do. Create a new pair. I would say VPN server Frankfurt demo. Let's create a key pair and we can save it on this. With respect to the network settings, let's edit it. Now here is where we have to select our default VPC, and there is only one subnet. We'll enable the IP address, which is the public IP address. You can give up to 30 GB. And there are some network configurations which are available. So our lab had a requirement of 1.101. So what I would probably do is let's create one instance as of now. The instance name would be VPN client. Launch instance. So it has a complaint. Okay, so I should remove the mask. Fine. So that's there and it's being launching. Let's go ahead and launch another instance. VPN server, Ubuntu, and medium. We'll say Frankfurt demo. I will edit this. My VPC is VPN VPC. I will auto assign the public IP. And I would say the IP that I wanted was 200. And we can make this 30 GB. So both of them are running. So this took 200 and this is the public IP. So let's try to log into it. So we need to change the permissions and okay, and now you can say the default username is Ubuntu and I can log in. So let's do a quick apt-get update. So the reason apt-get update succeeds itself is we are good with the internet and we need few things. These are the ones which will help us with some troubleshooting. And finally I'll install traceroute. And so this takes care of this server. Let's do the same thing for the client. So let's say SSH sudo apt-get update. The easier way to do this is to have the commands mentioned in the startup scripts itself. So you'll have an option there. I didn't mention it. And finally traceroute. So the client is done. There's nothing much we need to install on the client. On the server, we need to install Strong-swan. And after the installation, it would create IPSEC related files in the /etc directory. We need to edit some of these files along with this controls sysctl, which will be done in probably part 2 when we try to set up the VPN. So this is part 1. Now you're all good, and we'll try to continue the aspect from AWS in part 2 and come back to the server and see how it behaves. Thank you so much.